Hi everyone, welcome to the South District Olmsted Community Alliance meeting. I'm really glad that you will share your time with us on a very sunny day. Wouldn't blame anyone who does not want to come to a meeting because it's beautiful out. It's probably one of the last few summer days or fall summer. Right. South District is made up of all these park spaces, and I'm assuming that you are probably passionate for one or many of them. So just a quick overview of the Conservancy's mission and vision. Our mission is to steward Buffalo's historic Olmsted Park and Parkway system to benefit and welcome all. And these are some ways that we do it. And our vision is to overall create an exceptional park network for all of Buffalo. The Conservancy is a not-for-profit 501c3, and we have a public-private partnership with the City of Buffalo, where we have a contract to maintain and care for the parks. That includes advocacy, maintenance, fundraising, and many other things that we do on a day-to-day basis. Quick overview of the agenda, which you should also have in your handout. If you do not have one, my colleagues can give you one as well. And also the crew at South District, you've probably met Jonathan, who's been roaming around. Jonathan Clark is District Supervisor. Dennis is in his team, 4-person. Christy and Margaret are more system-wide, but Margaret is really focused on the South Park Arboretum. Margaret's over there. And Christy is volunteer coordinator who works on volunteer projects throughout the park system, as well as the lead in our invasive management task force. So we start with the great news. This project is finally completed. Have you walked it yet? Yeah. So just a overview again, the project scope included reconstructing and realigning the pathways along Casanova Creek. I just walked over just now. It's beautiful. Hopefully there are no issues, but if you do see anything, you can always reach out to us. And the Casanova Park Playground project. This project we talked about it last fall, also at this meeting, and again at another meeting, I believe. It was on hold because funding from the city had not come true. So we were unable to purchase equipment without the funding in hand yet. That's just the life of a nonprofit. So we're still currently in the same phase, but we see more promising deadlines coming up to get the funding secured, and we will proceed with ordering equipment. So for this one here, we anticipate a summer 2024 construction, and there's a slight change in the playground project where most of the equipment will stay the same as we talked about, but the location will be a little bit more spread out to avoid having playground equipment under canopies. So more has to be discussed with the engineering and back end side of things, and also with our district supervisor and park staff. And then also there's a possible addition of a zip cruise, which is basically like a zip line. And we have talked to the South District Council member Scanlon's office, and he is very interested in that equipment. So hopefully the funding will come through to add this equipment to the inventory as well. So the plan is to have a final community update in the first week of December. And hopefully if you're interested in this project, you can join us, or definitely let anyone in your network who has families or parents or caregivers who have children to come to the meeting to share any final thoughts. Just larger view. Great. South Park Clubhouse. This one has a TBD anticipated timeline. The project scope is to have restroom upgrades, and we're currently we received bids, but they were all over budget, so we have to rethink the strategy around this. All right, and the next update is super exciting. It's the South Park Arboretum, and I have Margaret Lapp to tell us more.
Hello. I'm so happy you were all here. Thanks. Okay, so I am going to breeze through here. For those of you who don't already know me, my name is Margaret Lapp. I am the South Park Arboretum Director and Curator. And basically what that means is I'm leading the charge for a 11-phase multi-year restoration project. So we are restoring the South Park Arboretum to its original glory, and have some really exciting updates to share with you. So my quick agenda for this evening I'm going to give you an update on the ARBNet accreditation, which is an interactive community of arboreta and botanic gardens across the world, not just the United States, but it's a global endeavor. I will be providing just a very basic update on the South Park Loop Bridge project. And then I'll be focusing in on phase 2 arboretum restoration efforts, which is primarily focused right now on what we're calling a nursery complex. So I'll get into that in a little more detail in a moment. So very great news to share. We have secured level 1 ARBNet accreditation. That puts us on the map globally. We are among other botanic gardens and arboreta across not just the nation, but the world. We've met the criterion. So this is our amazing forestry manager, Mike Sawyer. Mike, the forestry team, myself, were out in, goodness, I think this was February or March, and we were installing new plant tree tags. So labeled tree and woody plant taxa or plant families, that's one of the criteria. We also had to develop an arboretum plan, an organization or governance group, which we have internally. We have both volunteer and paid support, and we continue to engage the public and create opportunities to engage folks. So I'm very excited to share that we secured that accreditation of level 1 in was April of this past year. So very, very excited to be part of that group. Thank you. Thank you. It was certainly a team effort, and I really want to commend the forestry team. Z and her amazing team were very supportive in terms of, and crucial in terms of getting those tree tag labels coordinated and the layout. So it's just an amazing thing. And it really does open up opportunities for us to engage with other arboreta and botanic gardens, and it helps tell the story of what Frederick Law Olmsted intended for this arboretum. Okay, moving over to South Park Loop Bridge project. These are just a few pictures I took. This was about a month ago now, but how many of you have been out for a stroll or bike ride? Okay. So GPI is the engineering firm that's leading this effort. They're doing a great job, and I hope that you all have had a good experience. This temporary bridge here is available for your use, and it will be available. I just want to bring your attention to the fact that they are on schedule. They are slated to stop work in November, basically when the snow flies, right? But then they'll commence work in the spring, and they're looking to close up everything by May. I'd like to show you, this is very exciting as well. One of the aspects of this replacement project is that we are now able to celebrate the heritage of, in terms of the ornamentation of the bridge. We're able to kind of restore the bridge to the historic footprint, what it was, when it was constructed in the 1890s. This part I'm super excited to share. You may wonder what this is, right? A number of circles on a page, but this is a planting plan that I developed a little over a year ago. And I'm happy to share that as part of this project, we will be receiving plantings, so new trees, about six or seven new trees, and then a number of native plantings, as well as perennials that align with, wait for it, Olmsted's 1895 planting plan. Let me tell you, I just got chills. It was so neat to go through. There's 40 pages of plant lists. So wherever there was an opportunity to use the Olmsted originals, if the plant was not invasive or going to cause damage to the landscape, I capitalized on those. And if the plant we know now is invasive, because this was over 125 years ago, I opted for a native species. So that's a little bit of background there. And I think really the highlight for me is to share the progress that we've made on the what we're calling the nursery complex. So the nursery complex is integral to phase 2 restoration efforts. Just want to remind you, there are 11 total phases of restoration for South Park. And this is just one aspect of the total restoration and one aspect of phase 2. This is an image from 1894 showing that there were experimental and nursery grounds. There's a barn, shed, director's dwelling, which you see up here. This joke never gets old. I asked if I could live at South Park Arboretum, but it's not really a thing. So with that, I want to share, the last time we met, I was able to share a little bit about the RFP process. We had a number of firms from across the nation who were engaged, and I'm really pleased with the multidiscipline team that rose to the top and is executing this work. It is Hershout Landscape Architects and Flynn Battaglia Architects. I was sharing with, I believe it's Art, that I just saw a next rendition of the conceptual design plans for this work, and I was very emotional. It's amazing. It's really beautiful, and I can't wait to share those next plans with you. But this schedule just kind of shows we were research and discovery. There was a visioning session. This summer, we had a public meeting and design charrette at the Lackawanna Public Library. It was a really fantastic opportunity for our fabulous park patrons to weigh in on what they would like to see, what they're opposed to. And essentially what happened was we were presented with 3 different concepts. Concept A, on the knoll; concept B, entry gateway; concept C, nestled off the path. And you can see us here, some Olmsted staff, community members, some other professionals. We were really engaged and providing feedback on, which of those concepts were Olmstedian. Is this something Olmsted would do? Is this reflective of our mission and vision with Buffalo Olmsted Parks Conservancy? And as a result, we filled out scorecards, each of us, and this is just a snapshot of, there were more folks who weighed in. And the design team did a really nice job of categorizing between the 3 different concepts, which elements we liked, which we liked a little less or didn't like. And what that allowed us to do, or allowed the design team to do, I should say, is to come up with a couple different concepts. Since this point, there has been another iteration. I don't have those drawings to share, but certainly at our next meeting, I can share those. So the 2 concepts are garden rooms and terraced entry. This is, for those of you who are trying to orient yourself, this is Ridge Road. This is the existing entry point for pedestrian traffic. And what we're looking to do is create something called a building complex. Remember I mentioned I wanted to live at South Park Arboretum because I love it so much. Well, it's an opportunity really for us to have offices, a gathering space for you all, so we can hold classes, so that we can engage the public and help them understand why Olmsted, his intention for this Arboretum in the beginning, which was really to inspire the public and allow them to feel engaged about my collection. So this is the director's dwelling. So the nursery complex itself, what we're doing is we're looking at the beautiful ornamentation of that director's dwelling and seeing if there's parallels or ways that we can pull that materiality into our future nursery complex building. And then the heart and soul of our Arboretum is right here, container nursery. So we have over 5,000 trees and shrubs that we're looking to add back to the Arboretum due to deferred maintenance and other things that have transpired at South Park. We've lost a number of trees, so we're looking to build back. And this container nursery is going to provide us with a sustainable option to move forward and to sustainably grow the Arboretum. There's a little bit of difference between the 2, but I'm excited to share that there is an outdoor classroom that the designers have considered, and we are working toward that. So it's really an opportunity for us to continue to do the work that we love. Here's just a enlarged plan of the container nursery. This is a garage facility for our operations crew to have a home base and to also have storage space for all of our amazing equipment. Currently, we store our equipment in the basement of the botanical gardens, and it's become unfit. It's not safe. We've outgrown the space, so this is an opportunity for us. And then letter A is referencing a pit greenhouse, which is also historic to the site in the 1890s. And it has geothermal principles, which will allow us to extend the season and to really grow this arboretum at a great pace. And that's what I have for you.
Nice.
Thank you.
Thank you, Margaret. Anyone have any questions? Yes.
Back to Casanova Park. What are the plans to replace and repair the path that's behind the casino running past the playground that's there right now? It's the most treacherous place. I walk miles a day. It's the worst place. There's huge potholes,
Okay.
very, very small places even to step, so you're on flat surface. Would that be part of the playground process, or is that something separate?
I'm not sure, but I can check the playground project for the scope to see whether it has money for pathways. But we will definitely put it in our notes when we review with the city to check in on that. So you're referring to the pathway that is adjacent to the playground?
Yes,
Behind the
exactly.
casino.
So it starts, if you.
It starts at the garage parking lot and then
Exactly,
you go up to the
exactly.
garage. All right. Next item is on signage. So we're undergoing a system-wide signage project, and right now is in phase 1 where ID signs and some directional signs, also regulation signs, I'm getting an upgrade. So for Casanova Park and South Park, actually South District as a whole, here are some updates that we will have. The ones in yellow are new signs that currently do not exist but will be installed. The ones that do not have a yellow circle are signs that exist right now, but they will be refurbished. So this is an overview of the directional signs that exist and will be are refreshed. So these are completed refresh signs. So have you guys seen these updated colors? Yeah. So
Very nice.
just to go through them, the first one here was the one at Abbott Road entrance, Seneca Street, Casanova Street entrance, the golf course. This in case you forget how the old one looks like, the current. The ones out here and right around the corner there are still the old ones, but they will be refurbished with the new colors, hopefully by the end of this year. And so this is the one along there. And then there will be the new ones where they are currently not in existence, but they will be newly installed. And these are the locations. So they're more directional icons to show you like this way to the playground, this way to the splash pad, etc. So here are just some of the locations. So at Connick and Porters, south side of the bridge at Casanova Street and Creek. Potters Road entrance, we have a new Cas Park sign. So hopefully these signs would make a difference to your park experience. We'll see how that goes. And this is for South Park. So again, same thing. The ones in yellow circle are new signs. And this is just like a, what do you call this? A legend of what kind of signs there are. So regulation signs are basically like the rules and regulation kind of some more city ordinance related. I don't have any drafts for how those look like, but the ones that will be refreshed, so existing signs that will be refurbished, like the one at Ridge Road and the one by the Hopkins Street entrance. So it's kind of like no sign. I'm like, maybe I should do a play on that. And the next part, wait, any other questions on these ID signs? This is phase one.
Signage right there for South Park, does that mean you're gonna reopen the ring road?
No, the ring road right now, as per city council, is closed to vehicles. Oh,
Right.
sorry. Yes, but I'm not sure what's the next step. We're working with the city on determining what's the next step, so we'll keep everyone posted for sure.
Thank you.
See,
Yes.
are the other Olmsted parks, do they already have their signs? Are they getting them also? What's happening? with-
Yep, so this is a system-wide project and all these ID signs, especially park entrances, those are priority, because there's like a first impression kind of thing, knowing which park you're entering into. Are also getting upgrades and there are some new signs placed in other parks as well. But I have to say Cass Park has one of the most new signs. Of all the slides that I was doing, all the like different directional signs, Cass Park has so many. It's probably because it's a huge park, so and so many different amenities. So people, it will hopefully help with guiding you to where you want to go while you're using.
So what logo are you using to represent old people? I mean, seniors. I'm curious, and I want to buy too quickly. I
Oh,
saw
sorry, no,
saw
the
skiing, I saw different things. I'm just
the
curious.
signs are more to describe amenities like bathrooms, art. And okay, where was I? So the next phase, which is phase 2, and is currently in the planning phase, is on integrative signage. And integrative is basically more like a narrative. Like, what do you want? What is the story about Cass Park? When you have someone from out of town, for example, come to visit Cass Park with you, what would you like them to take away when they read a sign? So it will be more visual with photos, historic maps or historic photos, more like a narrative. And I would like to hear from everyone here, like, what do you think should be on these signs, especially for those of you who live here for a long time in this neighborhood? Any thoughts? And I will pull up. So we've been doing this at every community meeting where okay. It doesn't show on the screen. Okay, well, you can't see it here, but the Zoom people can see it. It's basically a Jamboard where you tell me what you are thinking for signage, and it can be ideas. It doesn't have to be fully formed. And any thoughts that you have, we'll put it on here and we'll use whatever feedback you have to draft the narrative content. So one thing I can probably think of, and we are working on it, would be the Indigenous and Native American history of Casanova Park. That is one narrative that we would like to highlight and emphasize. Anything else? Like, is there any historic features that you think are meaningful to you? Yeah.
I think it's important to point out the changes that occurred when the first version that was established by Olmsted caused drainage and flooding problems and the transformation that occurred when that happened. And so, for example, well, the area that between the two sets of steps that were taken away, that causeway there is meant to pick up the flooding, to be able to retain the overflow and stuff. And that wasn't my understanding, that certainly was not part of the original plan. And they had to rethink what they were doing. It's kind of like Frank Lloyd Wright having roofs that always leaked, and they had to eventually deal with that. But that system didn't work well, and it really led to a real change in the composition of the park. And I think that in some ways that need, if nothing else, to remind all of us that even the great masters make mistakes.
Sure.
And things that they really thought.
So we're saying history of the parks and in terms of maybe landscape and
Well, dealing with, I guess,
dealing with issues.
dealing with the presence of Cass Creek.
Yeah.
You know what, Cass Creek wasn't properly controlled and caused major, my understanding, I wasn't there. My understanding was major flooding occurred, and so the Army Corps had to come up with a new plan. And so what's currently there was not at all part of the original plan. That's when they had a couple of man-made lakes, yeah, were part of Cass Park.
Sure.
And this complex wasn't here, and all this kind of things happened. So that the replacement of the original plans for dealing with Cass Creek as a body of water
Mhm.
led to the current configuration when they redid things.
Interesting. Okay, thank you. Yes.
The pool that used to be there, the
Yes.
underground pool, there
Mhm.
was, something that designated this is where the pool was, where the farmer's market now is.
That's still so interesting. I can't imagine.
Yeah,
Yeah. And people who row boats, we have old photos of rowboats and the
Yeah.
lake or the pool. Anything else that comes to mind? And you're welcome to send me an email after if you think as well. And we'll definitely look at this project from different perspectives, from an inclusion perspective, from a historical significance perspective, and also from a present day, like what are the changes or how does the park impact people today? So there are different areas that we'll look at, but you also have your own lived experience in the park. So if anything comes up, you're welcome to share.
and I was just gonna say, certainly COVID impacted it with so many people using it. during
Mhm.
COVID, so something to remind people how important it was during that time.
Sure, yeah, interesting, yeah, so maybe kind of like how parks impact our mental health,
Right.
or
Mhm.
how it's good for our soul,
Mhm.
common language like that, which, right,
There's also a nice tie to Frederick Olmsted because he was no stranger to pandemics, right? And so I think
True.
so we definitely, us landscape architects, got a step into the limelight, if you will, in terms of like you said, see the health and well-being components of being able to access green
Mhm.
space.
Yeah.
Sorry, this is a random thought that I'm gonna forget. I work here, but I need to say it.
Can you speak up a little?
I'm wondering, like what you said with like critical Olmsted's vision, but like what didn't work. I'm wondering just if like the changes in industry and climate, like maybe the river is a few more inches than it used to be. I don't know, but
Mhm.
like what has impacted parks environment?
Yeah, climate change in parks for sure. All right, and if you take I saw somebody take a photo, if you take a photo, this link is open to you, you're welcome to add your own post-it notes to that link. And it has for every district, so if you feel like you wanna chime in for other park districts as well, you're welcome to do so. Next item, vandalism concerns, and Jonathan, our district supervisor, had to leave, but I was gonna ask him to chime in from his own experience working in a park. So basically, the rule of thumb, if you see something, call 911. If you see any issues or like if it's more safety concerns, that's not extremely urgent, call 311. The more reports made, especially when it comes from the community, it definitely impacts how the city handles the calls that come in, because the more calls means the more urgent, right? So we encourage you to do that if you feel comfortable doing so. We also call 311 a lot as the Conservancy. So please, if you can, like, yes.
So at the spring meeting, they talked about security on the golf course all summer, from like 8 PM to 1 AM. And the summer of 2022, they did have security,
Mhm.
and the vandalism and destruction of the golf course was greatly reduced.
Yeah,
So in the spring meeting, I asked if we were having, if there was going to be funding for security at the golf course again for the 2023 summer season, and the answer was yes,
sure.
but there was no security.
Gotcha. I did not hear about that either, so I'm wondering if the funding fell through, but we can definitely check on that. And I mean, we also want security because, like, you're absolutely right. The golf course damage, which is, as you can tell how boring this slide is a very serious issue. So there's no photos, it's just straightforward. These are all the instances of vandalism that occurred this year. And it's just within from July to September. It's such a short period of time. A lot of damages were done throughout Cass Park, mainly at Cass Park, unfortunately. So, and then again, golf course, I was asking our golf director this morning about like, how the situation was the past summer, and it was definitely bad. And you're right, we are trying to find ways to improve the situation. Security is expensive, and we are sometimes unable to prioritize it if there's no funding. So we'll check in on that, see whether we are able to find more resources on that end. But on that note, we definitely ask for your patience as our staff work on the aftermath of vandalism, because a lot of times if it's trash, the next morning, our team, instead of mowing, they have to pick up the trash.
Well,
Right?
that was the point
Oh.
made at the April meeting, was that the cost of the vandalism
Mhm,
exceeds the cost for the security.
sure.
So,
It makes, in that sense, it does, yeah, I
makes-
see what you mean, yeah.
right,
So, and then there are vandalism to the buildings, so the Cass Casino and the shelter building, which were issues that needed take time to repair or money to repair. And it also, for example, the one on flushing rocks down the toilets that caused the toilets to basically be unusable for a month. And it's one of those instances where we feel awful to have to close the bathroom, but we don't have a choice. So hopefully you would see that if the bathroom is closed, there is a reason. We don't close it because we want to. Any questions on this? Yes.
I'd suggest contacting the principals of all the schools in the area.
Mhm.
Kids drinking, kids getting stupid,
Yeah.
and having it at least addressed at that level
Mhm.
might
It's an
help.
interesting idea, yeah. Okay.
unfortunately, it's not the kids in the public schools either.
I was just gonna say that it seems to be like a rite of passage in a way.
Yes.
It's something that kids have done from, you
Mhm.
know, over years.
Yeah.
You know, it goes right down the line.
Mhm.
So I think,
Absolutely.
you know, reaching out to local youth groups and the schools makes sense. They can realize the amount of damage that's
Yeah.
cost is.
Are any of these kids
I
ever
didn't
caught?
suggest signage for the stone bridge.
They are.
Those that are on
They
camera
are. Mhm.
and or caught in action, they are. I'm not sure what are the consequences, to be
I think
honest,
that's
yeah.
where I was going, like, if
Sure.
the consequences were that they had to come and help
Mhm.
Mhm.
fix, or, you know, and I have no idea how you
Sure.
enforce that.
That's the thing, so, sorry, go ahead, Margaret.
Thanks, Dee. I have a little bit more insight. I talked with Jonathan, that some of the recurrent vandalism at the casino at, Cass Park is the same. So 13, 14 years old, and the damage assessments that have been done are actually sent to the parents because they are juveniles. And from what I understand from the detective that was working on the case, their insurance, their homeowner's insurance policy will pick up the damage cost. So, you know, you all are definitely resonating, like these ideas, right, of trying to break the cycle, of trying to, you know, grow respect. Maybe it's an ambassador program, who knows exactly what it is, but you know, what are the repercussions? But right now, you know, this team, I know for sure there was at least two vandalism acts, same team.
And the parents have been made
Aware, yeah.
and held responsible for their children's actions, so that should have some trickle down effect to the kids, I would think.
But that scenario is a fraction
Oh, I
of the
know.
kids that are involved in the vandalism. I mean, that might be like 5% of, you know, the kids that are really causing the damage. So we call the police. So I live in the condominium complex on the golf course.
Mhm.
We call the police all the time
Yeah.
for drinking in the park. And the police come, first of all, it's kind of if you call 911 from a cell phone, the city of Buffalo answers. If you call from your landline, the town of West Seneca answers. It's very interesting. And most of the time, the police tell us that because the kids use our parking lot as
Yeah.
access to the
Yeah.
park. And the police tell us we should fence in our property. And we used to drink in the park and, now it's just the next generation. That's what they tell us. That as police officers, they would say, we used to drink in the park. So it's very, very frustrating
Sure, yeah.
because we just don't see the law enforcement responding the way we would like them to.
Gotcha. Yeah. We're trying to be creative too, so
Yeah.
any ideas are welcome. And I don't know, maybe we need to find an undercover kid to
Yeah.
find out what's going on. Okay, yeah, but so this is a situation, we're trying to be creative and to think of more different ways to engage the younger generation, to have more engagement with the parks from a younger, starting young, basically, so trying to have more educational programming in schools, working with BPS and some charter schools and stuff to increase our engagement, and hopefully that would have a trickle effect in taking pride in your parks. But for now, we are dealing with the reality of this, and hopefully, but if you do see anything, you're still welcome to reach out to us and calling 911. Although I know that's really frustrating, but thank you. Right, and on a brighter note, these are all the special events that were at the South District this year, so a good amount, and definitely a variety, a lot of long-term events that have been occurring over the many, many decades, and also some newer events. An overview of our programming partners. These are some partners that we established greater relationships this year, and we strive to increase our engagement and diversity efforts with different nonprofits and community partners throughout the region. And on the next item would be on invasive species. So Christy Munson had to leave for an emergency, but I will do my best to summarize what she was going to say. So Christy is our volunteer coordinator, but she's also in charge, and she does lead the invasive species management task force. Invasive species eradication task force, which she in acronym calls it ISET. So if you do see ISET anywhere, you would know like, oh, it means the invasive species management program that the Conservancy works on. Invasive species are considered basically non-native or alien species to the ecosystem and likely to cause environmental or economic damage or to our human health or to the environment. Any questions so far? Anyone have invasive species in your yard? We all do.
Yeah.
So they are rampant and they're everywhere. So the goal of the Conservancy's invasive species program is to manage and track the areas and also monitor them to help with management and hopefully slow the growth or maybe mitigate completely. Having long-term and easy win projects, reclaim the riparian areas, and prevent future infestations, basically prevent the spread of invasive species.
What's
Yes,
riparian areas? I'm sorry.
I'll show you in a little
Along
bit.
waterways.
Okay.
So like, for instance, South Park, along like the northern portion of South Park Lake, there's the bog garden.
Yep.
And so Christy and her team, and a number of volunteers have done incredible work to remove, it's called Phragmites, the very tall reed
Yeah.
grass.
Yeah.
It's highly salt tolerant, and so it basically like can grow anywhere. So she's using a method there where you're laying any weeds that you take down on top, and that smothers the root zones. Historically, Olmsted has also brought in goats, and they will eat the invasive. So I know it sounds silly, but
No, that's great.
it's wonderful. So,
Okay.
and I just can't say enough good things about Christy. She's done incredible work for our park system.
Yeah, and she only joined us in less than a year or maybe up to a year. So in a year, she has done so much work and made so much progress. We're really excited and grateful to have her. And you can also work with her by volunteering. So this is a list of present invasive species in Cass Park. We're not gonna go through them, it's just a visual to show you how much there is in Cass Park. A lot of them are along the creek by Cass Creek. And so her team has identified highest priority removals over here. And she also works with the Western New York Prism in conjunction with them to work on ways to manage invasive species in the area and also the region. She has basically identified management zones to help with the management process of the invasive species. So the two highlighted areas, as well as target species. Oh my gosh, I feel I'm doing her such injustice because I'm not explaining this well. Margaret, if you have anything to chime in, please
Sure.
feel free. Any questions so far? Okay. Do you
I'm
actually want to
happy
share
to-
about shop South?
Yes, I'm happy to do that. So what I referenced, thanks, Steve. So what I referenced earlier was along. So here's South Park Ave, here is the golf clubhouse. This is the historic garden that we're gonna be restoring in future phases. And there is Phragmites, which is a very tall reed grass. So Christy and her team have really focused on that area. I can happily report that about a year ago, they started that endeavor and we've nearly reclaimed the entire area. Now, these plants, these are called invasives for a reason. They're very aggressive. And so we need to continue to keep up with the management of them. So that's where these ISAC groups come into play. We've had a number of volunteers step up. Volunteers are even now asking for specific roles, which is so encouraging. It's amazing. Over here, I know I talked to Ed earlier along, so this is the Ridge Road entrance that I talked about earlier. So in this area, you couldn't even see the trees. The tree line met the invasive species. There was something called Japanese knotweed, which is up here. And Christy and her team have they really opened up that space. There's still invasives in the park and we have work to do. But it is a huge advancement. Also, Z mentioned before the riparian zones, which here at South Park would reference at the border along South Park Lake. This is a 27-acre lake. And unfortunately, right now, you can't really get the beautiful view shed of the lake itself. So this invasive work that's being done is going to help open up those views and create better habitats for waterfowl and other animals who make their homes in the park.
Margaret,
Yes.
what is the specific strategy for knotweed? Because I see it here. I don't think we saw any knotweed here 5 years ago, and all of a sudden, it has plowed through.
Yeah.
Full.
What does that look like?
It has
It
the
has-
white flowers.
Yes.
They grow
Okay.
very
Like bamboo.
tall,
Okay, oh, yeah,
It's like
I
a
know,
shrub.
I know it well, yeah.
and it just kills every ecosystem underneath it.
Right. Yeah, it spreads, I believe, by rhizomes
Mhm.
in the root
Yes,
system.
exactly.
And actually, when they're small, it almost mimics like rhubarb. And there are certain dishes, this sounds wacky, but try it. When they're very small, they're tender and they can be used in that way, but it is very aggressive. It's hard to wipe out. In most cases, I'm not the expert that Christy is, but I do know that like applying an herbicide will help get to that root and knock it out. But
She was explaining earlier, you're not using chemicals.
right, that's correct, but for our park system, we do not. So in this case, we will just have to keep at the management of cutting down and getting to that root. So that's the best I know about that particular species. But it was introduced to United States as like this gorgeous, people thought it was this gorgeous plant. And I mean, when it's in bloom, it's pretty, but
Yeah.
it's really detrimental. So that's what I have to offer.
Margaret. So the highest priority removals that was identified are these 3 species here. And at the back in that table, if you want to grab a copy of that one is actually not to bring
Right.
home, sorry.
Yeah, no, that's okay.
Yeah,
I
for volunteers,
understand.
it's mainly when we are going on when we are doing invasive species removal with volunteers. Christy does bring that little guidebook with her and hand it out to volunteers so that they can help them identify the invasive species in the park. But booklet over there with, that says invasive species look-alike that you're welcome to take it home. It's a good educational piece to compare and contrast between some plants that look like invasive species and others that are actually good for the ecosystem. So as
See, I
for,
remembered one more thing.
yeah, go ahead.
So as a result of Christie's great work, in terms of mitigating the, invasive species, we're incorporating some of the shape layers that were created, GIS shape layers, in partnership with Western New York Prism in our plant finder application, which is going to launch very soon on a new, webpage for South Park Arboretum. So that's another opportunity for us to engage park goers and really just the community in general on how we're looking to remove these invasives and manage them.
We'll get that. I don't-
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Does anyone else want to see?
It's interesting.
So hopefully this would, if you come attend a volunteer event or even an ISET meeting, you don't have to commit for like a long term, but it would definitely give you a better understanding or education around how you can combat your own invasive species in your own backyards. So it's helpful, and you can spread the word about this horrible thing. So these are routine removal projects, volunteer based every month. And at Delaware Cass and South, so if you're interested, we'd really love to have you.
Where do they meet here at Cass?
So if you're interested in these, there is a sign up that you can sign up, and then Christy will email you the information. She also wanted to share about a success story that the Rock Creek Conservancy had, where they basically had weed warriors that are specialized volunteers, like the ISET team, where people are trained or they're passionate for the cause, and eventually they gain a larger role in helping with the invasive species management in our context. But in their case, it's on a different project, but they are trained and they can help with the operational staff. So these are in South Park, McKinley Circle over here is, you would see there is a spotted lanternfly trap that we are trying to trap the spotted lanternflies, which is another form of invasive species in the form of an insect. So this is a way that we're trying to get them before they kill all of our plants that they feed on. And over here is the trap for the box tree moth, and mainly in the Japanese garden, MLK Park, and Soldiers Circle. So if you do see them anywhere, this is their purpose.
Mhm.
And this is the fabulous Christy, which you might have seen just now. I love this photo of her. So she does lead the ISET meetings, is monthly, and she also sometimes does invasive species walks and talks, usually around Cass Park, which is super fun and amazing. And it's kind of like you go on a walk while picking the invasive species, and you have an invasive species bouquet at the end, something to take home. Just don't put it in the soil.
Yeah.
Volunteer events focusing on invasive species management. So if you're interested, this is the link. I'll just be mainly our website /volunteer. So that's the way you can find out for more information. I think that's it for the presentation. Thank you. Any questions, anyone? All right, please help us finish the pizza. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
The Zoom people, do you guys have any questions?
So early. No, I'm scared.
Thank you,
You're gonna have
Laura.
to change the time, but.
Okay, thank you all.
Thank you. Yeah. It's interesting.
So it shows.
So,